Going guys, welcome back to another video. Today what I'm going to be doing is going over some stuff that is going to help you increase your DPS. Now I've done this in the past for other stuff, but I promise you stuff that I'm mentioning in this video won't be things that I've mentioned in past ones, or at least as far as I can remember. Being said, there's so many times that I see people asking the question about how to increase their DPS, but not only that, whenever I get people asking me why they are struggling at a certain boss, for example, a lot of the time that does come down to actually them dealing more DPS and needing to get more DPS out there to be able to get through the boss quicker. Because obviously if you kill a boss quicker, then you skip mechanics sometimes, you take way less damage, because obviously if you kill the boss quicker and you're fighting it for 5 minutes, you're only taking 5 minutes of damage rather than taking 10 minutes of damage if it takes you twice as long to kill it. So I always find it useful to make videos like this, because even if someone is already doing okay on DPS, finding any extra tips to increase that, of course, helps out quite a bit. So that's what we're going to cover in this video. It's not going to be a basic DPS guide where I say this is what you have to do along everything. I'm just going to give you some extra tips to help you improve that from the basics. Things that I know that I do that help out a lot, that I know that not so many other people do all the time, that you could be doing just to add that little bit extra, but add it all up together, being a pretty decent output increase. Finally, I am aware that my DPS is not the best in the entire game. However, it is okay enough for me to get through most bosses pretty comfortably, and of course, in that position, I feel like I can add a little bit of extra value to other people, and so that is why I'm making this video. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so to get started, the first thing I'm going to talk about are DPS auras, okay? Now, I'm not going to talk about using them, because I know I've talked about that in the past, and most of you know, use a DPS aura. However, you can get a bit of extra damage out of these, because as I'm sure quite a lot of you listening will not know, that these do not stack with your Death Swiftness or your Sunshine, except for a very specific point. So, yes, for you guys that are surprised right now, Death Swiftness and your DPS auras, or Sunshine and your DPS auras, do not stack. They don't stack together. You will only get the damage from the actual Death Swiftness or the Sunshine when you are using this. That being said, on the last tick or the last second of using Death Swiftness or Sunshine, you do get the stack from these. So if you use a Wild Magic or a Snapshot on the very last second of your Sunshine or Death Swiftness, then you can get some pretty big hits, usually max hits out of these nice and easily. Like using a Snapshot and freaking being on the last second of your Death Swiftness is massive damage. On Magic, you can time things like Detonate and a Wild Magic release as well, all on the last second, and you can get so much damage out of this. It is crazy. So being aware that they don't stack is definitely important, but also knowing how to take advantage of it and using that last tick or the last second in your Sunshine and Death Swiftness to be able to get as much damage out as you can, that's a good increase in damage. It really is, especially if you're timing it at a specific time to like beat a DPS cap or something like that. It's just a nice little bit of information to know. This next one is just for you Magic users, to be honest, as it isn't going to be available on any of the other combat styles, but that is when you are using things like defensives or an ultimate like Sunshine or anything that doesn't actually deal damage to the target, you can have a keybind for your auto attack that you are auto casting, like the Blood Barrage or Insight Fear or Exanguate, anything like that, and you can press that as soon as you've used your ultimate or defense ability, and that will force an auto attack to actually be fired even without you doing any 4-ticking. You don't have to change any of your weapons or anything for this to happen. You just need to press the keybind after you've used an ultimate or a defensive. So if you use Anticipate and then press the keybinding for Blood Barrage, for example, not only are you going to do more damage because you normally wouldn't have done that in the first place, but you can also get a heal back from that as well from Blood Barrage. So this can be pretty damn useful, as it does provide more than just a DPS increase. It can also provide a little bit of extra sustainability, as Blood Barrage, especially if there's more than one target, can give you quite a decent amount of health back. And if you're doing this every time you use an ultimate or a defensive, you end up saving quite a little bit of health and doing more damage than normal. For any of you wondering, this will work for someone on Revolution as well. You don't have to be on full manual for this. So if you are someone who doesn't do 4-ticking normally, but you want to take advantage of some extra damage, you can put a keybind on for a spell that you want to use, and then every time you use anything like Anticipate or Devotion or Freedom, anything like that, Sunshine even, you can press that keybind, fire off an auto attack, increase your damage, and if it is a blood spell, then heal back a little bit as well. This next tip is not for someone who doesn't really have much money, as it does require you to have the ingenuity of the human's ability, and it is 200 million GP to get that at the moment. So it is for people who already have this, or if you want to have the money and you want to use it on getting one of these and you have it spare, then this could be pretty helpful in a lot of situations. So the example I need to give you is, what Ingenuity of the Humans does is it will make sure your next attack, no matter what it is, will always hit. So this allows you to use things like a SGB spec when you're using magic or melee, for example. So but that is not what we're going to talk about in this. We're not talking about, oh, just bring an SGB with you as well and use the spec. That's not it. We're talking about something else. When you're doing bosses, for example, Nex is going to be the best example of this, where you don't have 100% accuracy, and you can't get 100% accuracy in Nex. This is an ability, if you have access to it, you should use this whenever you can, off of cooldown, and use this with a threshold ability or an ultimate ability that does damage, but thresholds, for example, like Snapshot. That guarantees that both hits of that snapshot do hit, or use it before a tendrils to guarantee that the tendrils will hit as well, because if you use the tendrils and you could hit a 12k and you are going to cost yourself health, but then it splashes on Nex, that's the most infuriating thing. But guaranteeing that that next hit is going to hit, even if it could have in the first place because your accuracy is high enough, but it is guaranteed that you are going to splash throughout that fight at some point. Guaranteeing that some of your hits are going to hit, just because you have that ability there doing nothing, then it is absolutely worth just using that off cooldown whenever it's ready. Just press it, use snapshot, you guarantee that hit, it actually lands, and this is going to increase your damage. This is something that even I could probably improve on as well in certain places where you do splash. Like, I don't use SGB at Raksha anymore because I have sold my crossbow because I just can't afford to, it's a long story, I needed the bond, whatever, but I don't use my SGB there anymore, and I could just use my Ingenuity of the Humans to make sure all my abilities land, because sometimes on Magic you do still splash. So taking advantage of something that you've already got, if you don't use it already, just to make sure that hits do land, even just ensuring that one hit does land. On the off chance that it doesn't, it could be like 8k, 10k, a tendrils, it could be 12k damage that you would have missed out on if it did splash, that does land now. But just from doing that, it's not going to be a massive increase all the time, but doing little things like this, especially if you already have access to this ability, you may as well do it. Nex is probably the best place, like I say. So if you are running around Nex doing that boss and you do have Ingenuity of the Humans available, then you might as well throw it out before a big threshold anyway. This next thing I'm going to talk about is something that a lot of people do already do at higher end PVM, but for you guys getting into high end PVM, this is something you can absolutely adapt to and use in a lot of places, that you can just basically just make it so you don't have to pay attention to some of the mechanics. You can just continue doing DPS, which of course is a DPS increase. So what is this going to be? The best example for this one is going to be at Raksha. When the rocks fall, what I do in the first phase of the rocks fall is use a vitality potion and just continue DPSing. The reason I do this is because it doubles my health from 10k to 20k, and I know the chances of me dying from that rock fall because I've used Vitality Potion is incredibly small. I would have to get incredibly unlucky to actually die from that, so using a Vitality Potion here just allows me to focus just back on DPS straight away. I don't have to do anything else, I can just wander around the room trying my best to like dodge them a little bit in the back of my mind, but as long as I don't get piled by 4 rocks at once, we're good to go. And the thing is, because my health is so high, should I get unlucky and should all the rocks fall on my head straight away, and I'm like, oh crap, I actually might die here, I have enough time to react and I have enough time to put a reflect on, use debilitate or anything like that and eat up and make sure that I don't die. So having a Vitality Potion with you in some mechanics, like the rocks at Raksha, can be incredibly useful because you just ignore them. You just ignore them when that's up and you just do DPS instead. Meaning, rather than running around camping a shield, you're outputting DPS, you're firing off things, you're dropping your sunshine or whatever you're doing, and it definitely helps out a hell of a lot. It's saving time during kills. This can be applied in other places as well, so just keep eyes out for mechanics that you can use this on to help you get through nice and easy, so you don't have to waste adrenaline on like barricade or anything like that. For example, at Nex on the ice prison, you can just use a vitality potion rather than having to use a barricade to actually stop yourself from dying there. So rather than spending 100% adrenaline, you just drink a freaking vitality potion and everything's good to go. Small things like this may not seem like the biggest things to increase your DPS, but they add up over time, and once you start doing all of these things in this list together, trust me, it pays off and you notice the difference. Next up, we're going to talk about the ultimate ability, Natural Instinct. This isn't used in a lot of places by many people because it is an ability that costs 100% adrenaline, but what it does is it increases the amount of adrenaline you gain a hell of a lot. You can build up your adrenaline super fast with this, and it is a very useful ability in certain situations. This can help you increase your damage so much in some boss fights in certain situations too. For example, you will use it at Solak, you will use it maybe sometimes at Telos with the green beam, depending on your rotation there. I don't think it's very meta to do that anymore, but you could, or you did in the past. And the best way to use this to increase your DPS, where most people don't, is when you have downtime in certain bosses. For this one, I'm going to use the example of the Ambassador. At the Ambassador, you have the spinner phase, which everyone knows about, the big fire beams that come out and spin around the room, and you got to kill those idols around the room before they go back to him, and then the heat blows you up and stuff, and yeah, that thing. If you kill all of them really quick, if you can clear those off, when you are just stood waiting for him to finish that mechanic, because killing the last idol doesn't end that mechanic, it's a timed one, and if you are done very quickly, you will be stood there, not really doing anything, just waiting for the Ambassador to come back and be able to be attacked again, because at this point, he's immune to attacks and you can't do any damage to him. So what you can do at this point is, when you realize that you are going to have enough time left between you killing the last idol and then moving on to the ambassador again, you just use a natural instinct. You use natural instinct, you then build up back to sunshine, you use your sunshine, and your adrenaline build is so high that you can then build back up to thresholds ridiculously fast, not even using an adrenaline potion or anything like that. For example, what I do is, as I am killing the last idol, I'll use natural instinct, kill the last idol off while building adrenaline on that, and then immediately target the ambassador while he is still unattackable. Then I use tsunami on the ambassador, meaning I get increased adrenaline on crits, and this stacks with natural instinct as well. So I can go from 0 adrenaline all the way up to 100% adrenaline in like one Great Concentrator Blast. Then I'll drop Sunshine, do one more Great Concentrator Blast, go back up to like 100% adrenaline again almost, then use Staff Spec on the Fractured Staff of Armadil, and just go absolutely crazy. By this point, the Natural Instinct is usually run out, but I've just built up all of that adrenaline so fast because of this, and I'm ready to go the second he is available to be attacked. This is so good, and you can get everything off nice and easy, and not to mention you still have access to your adrenaline potion if you haven't already used it. So if there's any time in a boss fight where there is a downtime and you can't attack the boss, but you can still sort of use abilities and stuff, then drop a natural instinct. You can do this, it can help out a lot, and it is definitely absolutely worth using in certain situations like this. Don't get me wrong, this is not something that's going to be beginner friendly. You have to sort of have some experience in the boss to do this, of course, but if you aren't doing this, this can definitely help increase your DPS in fights that you are used to, and you can sort of squeeze this into your rotation. There's a few more things to cover, so we're going to move on to these pretty quickly now. The next one is, if you are doing a boss where you're camping a defender, or sometimes players like to camp defenders anyway, right? And so you have access to your defense abilities, makes life a bit easier. Use the ability Revenge. I see so many people camping a defender or a shield in, say, for example, Phase 4 at Care Pack and Hard Mode, and then not using Revenge. Revenge increases your damage while equipping a defender or a shield by so much. As you get hit, it'll increase in stacks, and the higher the stacks, the more damage you're going to be doing. You may as well use this ability. It is just a threshold ability. It costs the same as every other threshold ability, and it is something that's going to increase your damage by so much if you are just using a shield or a defender. Because, of course, using these, you have less damage than using a normal offhand, so take advantage of this, because it will add up quite a bit, and it will increase your damage by quite a lot. It will. It really, really will. 2 left to go. The next one is going to be another big purchase that a lot of people already know about anyway, but I just want to quickly chuck it in here for you guys. If you don't already have it, Limitless is amazing for getting more damage out in a Sunshine, Death Swiftness, or Berserk rotation, because it lets you use thresholds on 15% adrenaline. You don't have to build to 50, you can use it on 15%. It's absolutely crazy. It is so freaking good. So if you use an adrenaline potion, you can pretty much get 2 or 3 thresholds in your Sunshine or Death Swiftness or Berserk without even building to 50% adrenaline. It's crazy. It's just so good. And if you have access to this and the amount of money, because it is incredibly expensive, but if you don't have it and you have the money laying around, or you just don't use it, you should absolutely start using this and get this if you can. It is absolutely amazing. Guys that have got the money and maybe haven't bought all the other stuff yet, this isn't a super early investment, so make sure you check if you're about at the right place to get this before you should buy all the stuff first, because I don't want you to spend this much money on just a Limitless ability when you could have bought weapon upgrades or any perk upgrades, that sort of stuff, as that will come first. Okay, so this final one is not going to be for everyone as well, but it is what it is. Some of these things will help some people, some of it won't help everybody. This is going to be that if you are using Revolution++, this is a great way to increase your DPS by coming off of Revolution++. The difference between Revo++ and normal Revolution is Revo++ uses your ultimates and your thresholds for you as well, and you pretty much just click the boss and wait for it to die. This is going to reduce your DPS by a lot. That being said, I'm aware that coming off of Revo++ is not going to be for everybody, so if it's not for you, then it's not for you, and it is what it is. But if you are someone who is looking to increase your DPS and you are wondering how you can do that, and you're using Revo++, if you have the willingness and the time to learn to actually come off of Revo++ and you have the ability to do it, then go for it. Try and make it so that you still use your basic abilities on normal Revolution, so the game is automatically using your basic abilities, but you have full control of your thresholds and your ultimates, because this is going to be such a big increase in DPS for you. It is probably going to be crazy. It really is. Being able to use abilities at the right time, as they do have different effects, and they are just better used at certain situations. Once you get used to that and understanding of when to use them in what order, you will honestly increase your DPS by a lot. There is another jump of DPS increase from Revolution Standard and then going to full manual, but that kind of isn't as big as jumping from Revo++ to use normal Revolution and then using your thresholds manually and stuff. But if you want to then look at that too, you could do, but that's not all that important. And I'm a big believer that most bosses, in fact no, all bosses in this game can be done on Revolution Standard, and then making sure you obviously use your own thresholds and stuff and your own defensives by yourself. But moving to full manual would be a DPS increase, but like I say, it's not going to be the same difference like jumping from Revo++ to normal Revolution. Give it a shot if you have the willingness to learn it and it's something that you think you could do. I can quite confidently say that this would help out quite a bit, so if it is something that you're willing to do, then definitely get on that and see how it goes. Anyway guys, that is going to bring us to the end of this video, as my voice is absolutely about to give up on me right now. So if you enjoyed the video, do leave a like on it. I hope it has helped you guys out, and if it has and you are new around here or you aren't already subscribed, then do consider subscribing. If you have any feedback about the video, let me know in the comments. I always appreciate feedback, whether it's positive feedback or negative feedback. I can learn from negative feedback too, as long as it's constructive. Don't just say your video was crap. Obviously that's just not helpful. Let me know why it was crap and I will improve on it from there. But other than that guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Channel members, you guys are insane. I appreciate the extra support. Your names will be on screen right now, of course, as always. And other than that, thank you all for watching one more time, because I always say that towards the end, and I will see you all in the next one. See you later guys. Bye.